welcome to The Truth in His Art. I'm your host, Rob Lee, and today I have the privilege of being with DC's Dreamy Pop Princess.
That's me.
I feel like I read that somewhere.
Yeah.
Please welcome Ari Voxx. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming through. It's a very pink day, so shout out to you.
Yes, thank you. Every day is pink in my house.
That's great.
Yeah.
Everything is black for me, as you can see.
Well, that too.
I am a vampire person.
I'm a vampire on the inside. I feel like we might kind of be flip-flopped here.
Yeah, I'm not pink on the inside. Well, maybe. I don't know.
We're all pink on the inside.
This is true. It's a little Pennywise. They all float down here.
Yeah, exactly.
So, thank you for taking the time to come down. And we're doing this in lovely DC.
Yeah, it can be lovely.
So, before we dive into the sort of heart of the conversation, I like to look at these interview questions almost like, you go to a fine dining restaurant,
sure,
and you get when you go to any restaurant and then you get the water, you get the guy that comes over, the girl that comes over, whatever comes over, and it's like, yo, we got, this is the menu, take a look at it, here's our specials. That's the way I'm going to look at these questions.
Okay.
Almost like a menu.
Tasty.
So, yeah. So as we start off, I want to get sort of a bit of your early interests. So could you share some of your early creative interests? And I want to kind of get into maybe a glimpse into some of those formative years, that led you to kind of pursue music, pursue creativity.
Yes. Okay. So I always tell people that I came out the womb singing. I was kind of I was a little bit of an annoying kid, always making sounds. And I was kind of a little weirdo in elementary school. I didn't really have a lot of friends, so I would spend most of my afternoons after school just kind of twirling around in the backyard and making up songs, singing to butterflies and stuff. My friends were the sticks I would find in my backyard, so I would sing to them. It sounds kind of sad.
Not really. It sounds actually pretty lit, though.
Yeah. So, but I wasn't a very cheery kid. Even my sister would call me Eeyore because I was always ho hum. What does it matter anyway? And I'm kind of the same now. But when it comes to music, so yeah, I've always been singing and making up songs, and I've always been very creative, writing and creating things. I asked my mom to take drum lessons when I was a kid. She said absolutely not.
No more notes.
Yeah, so she signed me up for classical guitar lessons with my neighbor. So I started off with that, and that gave me kind of a super in-depth understanding about music in a way that a lot of the other kids my age didn't really, because who was listening to classical music? Right. Especially classical guitar music, which is even more niche. So yeah, I did that for a few years, well, more 8 years, and then became a teenager and wanted to do rock and roll. So
as we all do.
Yeah, hell yeah. So put down the nylon string, picked up the electric, and kind of just got involved in the punk and hardcore scene a little bit in DC and Baltimore.
Shout out.
Was a little sad punk girl, writing songs, playing open mics and stuff, getting into trouble. And I don't know, it took me a while to settle into a genre and style that I really felt comfortable in. Because I think both of us probably had similar experiences being black nerds and being into a bunch of different things. Yeah. Not just rap and R&B, but also rock and grunge and 80s pop and classical music and jazz, everything all together. And people, my whole life tried to keep putting me into boxes. Yeah. But now I feel I'm finally comfortable to do what I want to do. But have all these experiences that kind of amalgamate into who I am and what I put out there. So
thank you.
Sorry, I ramble kind of a lot.
No. See, as I told people who are very verbose, and not even that you're very verbose, you're doing what you need to do, and I like that. You make my job easier. So
yeah.
I could just sit here and be There's a lot of meaningful nodding. But yeah, I definitely I agree with it. Where I did a podcast for a while called Unofficially Black, because it was just like me and one of my buddies. Shout out to Greg. We would do this podcast, and or we would have these conversations, which would later become this podcast. And you talk to black folks, and it's like, hey man, I'm doing this, and I'm like, what are you doing this weekend? Man, I'm going to Japan. I mean, I'm going to Little Tokyo. I'm going to Little Tokyo, in LA to watch like Japanese wrestling. And they're like, why? That's weird. Like, black dudes don't watch wrestling. I was like, what are you saying to me?
Exactly.
And I just found like we had this sort of common ground, and then you would see this overlap, and I look at it almost now of, if you know, you know. That's kind of the energy I have for it now, but I think it sort of takes that time to find like who your people are, which feels hokey sometimes, but it's true.
It's true.
And like what energy, what vibe you want to be around. And even doing something like this. Now, every Tom, Dick, and Jerome, I said that intentionally, has a podcast. And I've been doing this since 2009. Some of the things I would hear as a black podcaster that looked like I should be playing football. It's like, why would you do that? That's weird. That's white people stuff. And it's like, but is it though?
Yeah.
And but definitely when you're able to find it, you're able to just like cut down on all of the noise. Yeah.
And I've definitely had similar experiences with like kind of people telling me that me and my interests are not black enough, or like the way I talk, the music I know.
You speak so well.
Oh my God, that's a whole nother level of shit. Yeah, and just like the way I like to dress and like the things I like to do. It's really fucking annoying. And I think we've grown a lot because the internet like culture has expanded to every little crevice everywhere, and like people are taking our stuff, we're taking their stuff. Yeah. And it's just like the sharing of cultures, which is great. And like something like watching anime or listening to K-pop, like that's more acceptable now, whereas I was bullied so hard in the middle school and high school for liking that kind of shit. Or like listening to fucking Paramore. Apparently Paramore is cool now.
Little Uzi Vert is here.
Literally.
Yeah, it's I'll say this, once I got out of college and I went to a business school, and you're pushed to go into these things and sort of this idea of black excellence. I'm sure you have thoughts on that as well.
My dad's a lawyer, black lawyer.
So, and I remember you're pushing for sort of these corporate jobs and all of this different stuff, and I like to play with this little game here. I look in the office because there's only like 3 black people, just like a max, right? And I remember working in a spot that had this sort of diverse energy, right? And I do this in inverted commas. And all of the black guys, was 4 of us, we were all moved in the same area.
Oh no.
And I'm looking at it, I was like, all right, you only get to be a certain type of black dude in that environment. Yeah. So I'm like, what is your thing? It's like doing central casting. That's what I felt like I was doing. I was like, I'm the tech nerd. What are you? So I used to do that. So definitely sort of, and it brings me to this next question, actually, segue. Wow. I think our identities are kind of like who we feel like we're comfortable in being, and how we feel like we're comfortably presenting ourselves. I think that directs some of the behavior we're getting into and some of the things that we're pursuing, whether it be creative, whether it be with the people we hang out with, really being able to be comfortable and say like, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. So if you will, could you share a bit about like some of the identities, and I think we were touching on a little bit, but some of the identities that, that make up who you are and how that influences and shapes your music and your storytelling approach?
What's the question?
Your identity and how it shapes your storytelling.
Yeah, sorry.
See, I'm being verbose now.
I know. My identity. So like what you were, like some of the questions you sent me, like about being black and queer and a lady. Lady.
Doth protest too much.
I don't know. Well, I think in like the spaces that I'm putting myself in these days aren't necessarily the spaces someone like me would typically seek out. I feel Okay, you're gonna have to rephrase the question for me because I'm a little,
No, I got you. So like, when I'm doing this, right? When I'm doing this podcast, I speak to a litany of different people, different disciplines, all of that stuff. But at the through line in it is, I am a 6'4" Black man from East Baltimore, so my perspective is going to be such. And I think part of my identity comes through in the interviews and the people that I'm looking to talk to, the spots that I'm in. So as far as your approach to creativity, whether it be writing, whether it be pursuing collaborations, pursuing opportunities to perform and such, how does your identity like pop up and show up in your work? Did that help?
Yeah, I think that did help. It's like it's a big question, I feel, though. I think a lot of the times in my creative process, like when I'm writing, I don't really think about all that. I kind of transcend being, honestly, sometimes. It's similar to kind of what happens, like when I dream, I'm never myself in my dreams. I don't know what this means. I don't know how many other people experience this, but I'm never myself. I'm always like a middle-aged Asian guy, or like a fucking like Latin woman. Like I'm always just like someone else, and so I feel like very fluid in my identity, I guess, especially when it comes to creativity, because I can be anything and everything, and I am everything. Period. But yeah, so I mean, I don't really think about like my blackness or really my queerness when it comes to creating. I think that people kind of put that on me. I don't know. It's like people perceive that from me, and I don't really think about it. I'm just existing. But even though I do believe the things about my identity like are important, being Black and queer and lady, and pursuing my dreams and getting myself out there and being represented in the media and things like that, that's very important to me. But I just try not to like pigeonhole myself into thinking that I need to be those things all the time or portray those things in a certain way all the time.
Yeah, and I like that we got to that. I like that we got to that answer, because I was seeing it, but I didn't want to put words in your mouth, because I think I'm in the same way, where when I'm doing this, all that stuff is baked in, but I don't need to stand up, and be like, yeah, brother, as you're talking about, I don't need to do that, It's like, I make fun of that, but also that stuff is naturally there. Like, I remember there are a lot of folks that I know who fit into that sort of like the Black nerd, the sort of fitting outside of that typical sort of, this is what a Black person is. And it's like, you sure about you sure? All right, then cool. But I find that a lot of folks that were on this sort of like alt Black thing, 2020, they realized they were Black, and I was just like, you should know this. You should know this. You have to know these things. That term alt Black, that's so that's so funny to me. But it's like, I see exactly why like someone like myself would probably like gravitate towards that sort of like identifier, because I mean, it's, I don't know, probably partially my fault, but probably partially like the community's fault for casting out the people that are not typically Black, because I don't know, everyone just wants to belong and like search for a group of people or like a label, a box that they can fit neatly into. Because we got people saying you're not Black enough, and you think you're better than me, because it's just like an automatic like aggression a lot of times that I get really scared by. Even like, and I found my people now, and it's been easier to do that. But even now, I still get so much anxiety when I'm like just walking into like a predominantly Black space. I'm just like, I feel like an imposter sometimes. I'm like, oh no, like they're gonna know that I'm not like a real one if I don't like walk a certain way and stuff. Just walk jive, like how can I stick my butt out and stick my chest out at the same time?
Exactly. And it's it's mostly in my own head, but I mean, you still get looks sometimes, still get little comments, and it sucks. But
I just look at all of it. It's like this is nonsense. I had to come to that like realization at a point where you second guess almost everything you do. And I've even in doing this podcast, I've had people, I'm just me, right? And I think that's what you were describing a moment ago. And I've had people say, I don't know, man. I don't know if you're a real black dude. I was like, what?
Stop.
Or I don't know if you have this, or I don't know. I was like, well, I'm this. This is who I am. This is what I'm saying. This is how I'm approaching it. All of it is black.
Yeah, and if you can't see that, then that's your problem, and you need to look within yourself to see why you think that way.
So diving a little bit deeper to like musical like influences, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. You mentioned
Music.
like, you know, there's some, you said earlier, so there's pop, right? Pop is a thing.
Yes, pop is a thing.
And then I also heard like early on, there's some, you know, hardcore scene built in there. There is some in terms of like what you were into, right?
Yeah.
And classical guitar as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, butterflies and sticks. It's an audience. That's another thing. So talk about
That's
some.
so different than my audiences today.
Well, I mean, I'm a podcast of one. No one listens to me. But so talk about like some of those like influences, and maybe like, because I find like the way that we describe influences a lot of times is, who do we steal from? Mm-hmm, yeah. And it's like, I'm going to remake this. So this podcast, I'm sure some people said, it's kind of Nardwarish sometimes.
Really?
It's kind of Larry King sometimes. It's kind of this, it's kind of that. And sure, I like to say it's James Lipton sometimes, but there's influences that sit there. So, and I'd like to be very obvious about that. So who are some of those influences like, and what are you taking from them? Like, is it this person's stage presence I really dig, or this person's like their sort of design, their eye for, that's the imagery I want. This is the songwriting, so,
Gotcha.
if you will.
Yeah, so I mean, I think growing up I was influenced a lot by my family's music. Yeah. So with my mom, it was Motown all the time. Nice. So, you know, Earth, Wind & Fire, Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Smokey. So what?
I just think of that song Gangbangin'.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yep.
This is how we know we're in the same shop.
Yeah, man. So lots of Motown with her. That's kind of how I learned to like harmonize and how to sing in my falsetto voice. Actually, sometimes a lot of times when I listen to myself, I hear a male voice. Okay. I think because most of the music I listen to, I didn't listen to a lot of lady singers. Mm-hmm. So the singers that I would try to emulate would be mostly men. So that's what I hear in my head. I know other people don't really say that, but I think the way I do, like my falsetto, like my high voice, just sounds like a dude doing falsetto, because that's how I learned. Yeah. So lots of Motown with mom, and then my siblings were both like much older than me. So they were both born in the 80s. I know. I'm 27, and my sister's like 40 something. My brother, what? I'm not saying that's old is a bad thing. They're just older than me. But you know, my sister was really into like 80s like new wave, post-punk. So there's a lot of like Depeche Mode, Tears for Fears, The Cure. And then my brother was kind of a little shithead into like Chili Peppers and stuff. So, it's Soundgarden is what I got from my brother. And Chris Cornell is definitely one of my favorite vocalists. And just look at their fucking. Sorry, can I swear? No, you're good. I swear a lot. Yeah, like that band's journey from being kind of like super like heavy, dark, metally, grungy, and then they got really like bluesy and really soulful. I mean, Chris Cornell has always been like super soulful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I think I take a lot of the songwriting style from Soundgarden and Chris Cornell. But kind of the sounds that I gravitate towards are those like 80s pop, dream pop, like The Cure, Susie and the Banshees, Cocteau Twins. Those are kind of like my main like instrumental sounds that I strive for. Yeah. And I have definitely achieved with this new album that I'm working on. I'm okay. Please stop asking. With my band, the Sad Lads, I found them on Craigslist too. excellent lads. Highly recommend Craigslist for lads.
Great.
But they're more, I'm not very like technologically savvy when it comes to the gear and stuff. They are super duper into that. So they kind of bring to me the sounds that I've like been dreaming of, and I'm like, perfect. So,
you know exactly what I was looking for.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I'm not very, I don't know, I feel music within me coursing through my veins, but I don't really know the language. Even though I took classical guitar, I kind of lost a lot of the music theory, and I think it's ingrained in there, but I just don't have the verbiage for it anymore. Which I should. I'm around musicians all the time. I should.
It's one of those things where folks get into jargon.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know that. I remember, it's going to sound super weird. I was born in the 80s as well, so I felt seen for a second. But when I was in high school, I remember, so this is like a lot of Neptune's production time, right? And I just remember looking at this interview with Pharrell, and he was just kind of like just humming a beat, and then maybe like Chad was like, "Oh, I know what to do."
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is how you make music?" And I'm sitting there, I was like, "Burr, burr, 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 burr." Just trying to figure it out. And it's like, are you going for a jazz New Orleans thing? What are you going for here? But being able to kind of hook up with the right folks who kind of like
your language.
It's definitely super complimentary. If like, yeah, you get it. You get what I'm going for here. So even when you're doing something like this, doing an interview, doing a production, and I feel like it's a fair amount of like trust that folks put into me. This is why I take what I do like pretty seriously. Someone's coming there, sharing their stuff and being authentic and sharing what it is. I'm just trying to guide it, in a way, and not saying, well, it's going to just be this. It's like, no, we're going to talk about a little bit of everything, but it's going to have like sort of a through line, and it's going to be able to cover sort of the key points. And ultimately, the goal behind it, or what my aspiration is, to have folks dive in and go deeper and like check more about you, more about your music. And that's really what it is. But I think it's just like being able to connect with people who get it.
Exactly. And that's so important. Because
some folks will hop on and say, yeah, I would love to be on here just to talk about this project specifically, nothing else. And I'm like, maybe it's an advertisement you want? Like,
yeah, you can just go buy an advertisement. I mean,
there are billboards that are very cheap these days.
Billboards.
So, and also in the songwriting process, like, are there like sort of like personal experiences that pop up in the process, sort of one's emotions, what have you? And I say that because when I'm doing this, it's hard to fake certain things. It's hard to fake enthusiasm.
I'm really bad at faking.
So you know where I'm going with this, please.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm a very emotional person. I'm a Scorpio. What are you?
I'm an Aquarius.
Okay, yeah. A lot of my friends are Aquarius. We're water signs. We're flowing. The tears are flowing. Okay.
This is great.
And what was the question?
So sort of personal experiences, emotions, feelings, how does that influence the work?
I mean, the music, my feelings are music. I mean, it's, I'm not very good at talking, as you can see. I feel like the only way I can fully communicate my feelings, and there are a lot of them, is through music. I mean, I'll be sitting on the patio smoking a schmigarette.
That's great.
And then, I'll get a wave of an emotion, and then I'll just open my mouth and a melody comes out, and then I go figure out what chords go with it on the piano or whatever. And honestly, the lyrics come last for me. I think lyrics can be important. For me, that's not really what I look for in music. I look for the emotion, the melodies, and the harmonies. Those are what's important to me, and those are what I focus on, because I think you don't really need words to convey what you want to say. I mean, you can, if you're connected, that's the skill too. If you can connect with someone without even saying any words, that's magical, man. So, So that's what I do. I mean, and the song process is different for me. The writing process is different every time. I mean, sometimes I'll do a melody first. Sometimes I'll just be fucking around on the guitar and find something that happens. Or very rarely, sometimes I'll be like, I want to write a song about this, about this topic. And then I'll sit down and think, but again, just try to let the emotions flow about it. Making like little lists, like not lists, what do you call, you're in school and you make, like when you're writing a paper, you make idea webs. It's like webs. So it starts with like one bubble that's like the main topic, and then it branches out into like other things about it. That's kind of how my brain works. So that's kind of how my songwriting ends up as well.
Thank you. That's good. That's good. When I'm thinking through, like, all right, what am I going to do for this season? What I'm going to do for upcoming episodes and so on? I think, you can't talk to everyone. You don't have unlimited resources. You don't have unlimited time. You can't write every song, that's right there. It's like, oh, this is interesting. It's just time doesn't permit it, right? But it's like, all right, what do I prioritize? So one of the things that I was able to do this past year as we're recording this in June, one of the things I was able to do over the course of a few months was I wanted to do a month that was focused on jazz music for April. So I did interviews in New Orleans, Philly, and here.
That's awesome.
And getting those sort of interviews, and it took work to kind of bring that to fruition, because I was like, it's something about, basketball, sports, what have you. It's something about doing it on the road at the person's place and much more comfortable. And they're like, yeah, here's this thing. Like when I went to the sort of jazz museum in New Orleans, I remember speaking with the curator, and he was like, yeah, we had Louis Armstrong's cornet that he trained on, the original like thing that he trained on. He's like, we had it here, it's in this building. And I was like, can I see it? Like, maybe I'll get some talent from it, you know what I mean? And it's sort of that kind of thing where it's just like, all right, this is what I'm doing and what comes from it. It's like, I aspire to go for this thing. I may fall short, right? I wanted to do 30 jazz interviews. I got 15. But it's just
still
like,
a lot.
It is, absolutely it is. But it's like having that sort of like aim of this is what I'm going after. I think that's really important. But having sort of the ideas, the list, the idea web, as it were, is something important about it. So I'm thinking about that for this sort of next season, without feeling hokey, without feeling like I'm covering territory already covered, but while keeping it interesting. I think that's what keeps you on point with intention.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the upcoming album. Because you teased it a little bit.
Okay.
I liked it. You teased it a little bit. So tell us again the name of the album and the main themes that you're exploring in the work. I got other questions, but I at least want to start off there.
Okay. So this will be my first full-length album. I've released EPs before and singles. But first full-length album, it is called I'm Okay, Please Stop Asking.
Are you okay? No, Joel, I'm sorry.
So there's always been, I feel like I'm a pretty humorous person. I always kind of, depressed people are normally the funniest people. I would think so. I just like, most stand-up comedians are like horribly depressed. So, because you got to find comedy in the darkness. So I feel like there can be a lot of humor in the songs that I've been writing lately. And so, the title of the album is funny because the last track on the album is called I'm Not Okay. So, that's the punchline. But it's kind of, the idea is, you look a certain way. People tell me that I look sad. I just walk down the street and I have like sad face.
You don't.
So thank you. I'm like this. I always walk around like that, and people are like, are you okay? Are you okay? And like, I thought I was okay at first, but the more you ask, the more I'm unhinged now, actually. So
you get morning text, is everything good? From you, it's like, like I'm in a deep fryer right now.
Yeah. So, but there's a lot of themes being explored on the album. It's kind of, I kind of describe it sometimes as a descent into madness or into darkness. So like it starts out with a very like boastful, fun, flouncy song called Flamingo, which is kind of about being tall, lanky, weird, not, people make fun of you for it. They call me tacky because I wear head to toe pink. That's fine. But it's about owning that and just being like the fabulous tchotchke that you are. Yes. And then it kind of goes all downhill from there. So yeah, I mean, there's songs about depression, alcoholism, anxiety, temptation, doing bad things, and maybe not feeling so bad about it. And it kind of, the last song is kind of a culmination of all those things, and kind of is the gateway into entering my villain era.
I love it.
I also, and there's a lore. There's going to be a lore in the visuals and stuff. I'm a very visual person. Mm-hmm. I love movies. I love video games, like classic games. And you're gonna see and hear like a lot of references. There's a lot of love, a lot of little Easter eggs thrown into a lot of these things. You may hear a couple of Mario sounds. You may hear some Donkey Kong sounds. But yeah, I mean the lore. I kind of have separated myself from the human being that I am. I sounded completely unhinged.
No, that's great. That's great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the lore is that, I've created this separate entity of Ari Voxx. She is this character that I can kind of do whatever I want with. She is this fabulous flamingo, but then, she slowly is transforming into the pink neon swamp monster. And yes, she kills the lads.
The lads are like...
Yeah, she got a little overstimulated. Okay, she kills the lads. And, becomes this dark monster at the end of this album. Yeah. And then in the next one, she is... Okay, so I'm teasing that I'm such a neurotic planner that I already have my next album planned out. It's gonna be...
This is how you keep things on point.
Yeah, man. And the next album is Creature from the Pink Lagoon.
I love it.
Gonna be a lot of... I love horror movies too. There's gonna be a lot of horror references in that one. But she becomes this creature. She resurrects the lads from the dead.
Music's darker suddenly.
Yes, exactly. It's gonna keep getting darker and darker and darker. And I'm spiraling, baby. Yeah. So that's kind of where the album is going. Yeah. There's hints of darkness, a lot of dreaminess. It's like a dream. I want it to feel surreal. Yeah. That's kind of what
I like this. I like this description. I mean, when it's not the same, right? But when I get into like an album and I get very, very defensive about the things I enjoy, and I remember, what is it? Was it After Hours, the Weekend album, what have you? Mm-hmm. And I was just like, yeah, man, this is speaking to me, man. It's a moody Aquarius, man. And I'm just going through the whole thing, and I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm right there. I'm not Amo, but I'm Rob Lee, but I'm there. But it definitely takes you to a place, and you get a sense of what's going on in someone's mind. So as I'm listening to you describe it and kind of getting that extra sort of texture that's there, it's just like, oh yeah, no, this makes sense. It has a theatrical thing that's there, and it's the different, I think even so far in this conversation, the different parts of your inspirations and the parts of who you are as a person that make up what you've been describing for an album I haven't even heard yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm excited for it. That's the thing that's really interesting. It's like, I'm excited for it.
Yay, I'm glad. Because I mean, life is theatrics. You're born naked and the rest is drag.
I had on a suit. When I was born.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was, someone was not happy about that
suit. But I think I just want to create this world, this universe, even. A la, gorillas, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like this world that me and my like-minded people can kind of escape to and feel whatever we want to feel. Like, if we want to feel bad and sad, let's go, dude.
Yeah, let's have a good soundtrack with it.
Yes, exactly, because you're gonna be sad sometimes. Yeah. So fucking wallow. I love wallowing.
I like to put on sad music sometimes, and it was a thing that you said earlier about like when you were talking about the process of it's sort of maybe the music, not always the lyrics that are there, and I immediately went back to being a moody 17-year-old back at City College in Baltimore, and like, yeah, man, I remember listening to Weezer, man, Only in Dreams, man. Yeah. I went to that because I was like dating a girl and I didn't realize that she was a lesbian. I was like, oh no, this is just not good for me. This is not going to be out. This is going to be very interesting soon. But it took me back there and thinking about sort of, you know, those two songs that like Pink Triangle, those two songs at the time making me, and it's like a time capsule. Good music is a time capsule. It makes you think of where you were at, what you were feeling, and all of that. And that's what it seemed like you were keying in on when you were describing like the feeling component.
That's what I want, because I'm obsessed with nostalgia too. I mean, I've like just the longing feeling of it's like a sunset. I can't describe it. It's like so fleeting. And you just you know you want to hit pause, and songs can do that for you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I want to help create that. And that's why I think there's a lot of like 80s influence, 80s, 90s like sounds and stuff in the music that I'm making. Because, I don't know, I wasn't really a real person at that time, but like I was around it, like my siblings, my family, and I wanted to hold on to that moment before impending doom was on my mind with the fire in the sky and literally, and just, man, I had a little like manic moment yesterday. Just the weather was just weird. I was just feeling strangeness in the air, like because it was like sunny and raining at the same time, and like the smoky sky had just happened, and the winds were just feeling weird, and I was like, it feels like the world's about to end right now. So
this is how this would go down, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, that it's like the calm before the storm, you know, when the birds are flying a certain way, and then it's like, oh shit, we got
I think I want to try to rephrase it, you know, instead of the calm before the storm, it's like the storm before the calm. It's going to get back to it. It's going to be up and down. It's another calm coming. That's the way I like to look at it. Exactly.
It's a circle.
Are you sure? I just want a super black thing for the background, just so we go full Joe, just like, I just want that. I don't know why. We need more of that. Let me ever do an album. This could be a lot of.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Shit.
So I got this one last sort of real question, and it's about sort of like the upcoming things, what you're looking for. You were teasing it with Creature from the Pink Lagoon, right?
Yeah.
So you were teasing sort of like what's next. So in the next few months, right? What's coming up in the next few months, and what are you hoping for in the next like few years? Like short term, long term, what's on the docket for you?
Well, we'll see if I survive 27 this year. You know, anyway. Album release show at Songbird in August to debut the album there with my full band. I'm planning a little solo tour as well around that. So I'm going to do Northbound just by myself. So it's going to be me singing fancy karaoke of my album to people. So Boston, New York, Philly, and then I'll come back home for the album release, and then I'm going to go down south. To like Raleigh, Charlotte, Asheville, maybe Knoxville, got Atlanta, even all the way down to Florida, like Jacksonville, Gainesville, and then back up. So I'm doing that, and then I think the next kind of plan for my band, my group, and my music is to start looking to go on tour with like bigger acts. Someone who's a DC artist that I really look up to is Bartees Strange. I'm sure you know of him and his music. He's kind of, you know, a black artist, genre bending and absolutely killing it. So I kind of want to follow down his route. Now he's like touring with like the National, and like he's all over the world. Yeah. So I want to do that. I just want to spread my sparkly sadness everywhere and just keep creating. So yeah, the next few years, just create as much as I can before I die. You know, you never know when it's gonna happen. So I mean, I need to get these albums out, man.
It's like, look, I got work to do, man.
Exactly.
So it's like, why are you doing so many interviews? Look, man, time is ticking. I was like, I'm just trying to have my stuff uploaded to ChatGPT.
Yeah,
recreating, like, this will never end.
Oh my god.
Write a script in Rob's voice.
That would be sick, yeah.
So thank you for that. Now, all of the goodwill that I've established over the last, we're talking for about an hour. Now it's time to piss it all away with these rapid fire questions.
All right. I'm ready.
All right, so here's the first one. And as I said, as I always say,
okay,
don't overthink them. It's going to be fine.
Okay.
It's going to be fine. We're on this journey together.
Okay.
And this will be a first. To make it more comfortable, I'll share mine as we do it as well. Okay, first one. Favorite movie?
Okay. Couple, I don't really have favorites.
3.
Okay, I'll do, so it's known as Dead Alive or Brain Dead. One of Peter Jackson's first movies.
I remember this, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so very hokey, campy zombie movie. Set in New Zealand, of course. Amazing. Love that. Freaking like Jurassic Park.
30th anniversary, go on.
Yeah, dinosaurs. Like The Last Unicorn.
Okay.
Or like Never-Ending Story. I love like those, like the kinds of things.
That's on brand.
Yeah.
RoboCop, the original.
Okay.
Because sometimes you got to shoot a dude in the dick. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, most of the time.
Rocky 4, because it came out 1985, the year I was born, and Rocky saves us against the Russians, so why not?
Yeah, dirty commies.
Dirty commies.
It's me, I'm a dirty commie.
and probably Enter the Dragon. I really like Bruce Lee movies.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah.
What's your go-to comfort food?
Ramen noodles.
Yes, it should be.
Like oodles and noodles.
Okay, don't downgrade it now.
But like, you know, like the little shitty for 50 cents you can buy.
I know what you're talking about.
But I'm fancying it up. So I make it, I boil the water. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I put soy sauce, put sesame oil, a little garlic powder, cayenne, crushed red pepper, maybe dashi powder if it's on hand. Put the noodles in, crack an egg in there.
Okay.
All right. Chop up some green onion. I'm bougie.
I can see.
Green onion, sesame seeds, crack a black pepper on top.
Chef kiss.
Yes.
I like it. It's a cross between me ordering chicken parm.
Okay.
Just
tasty.
Or chicken tikka masala, but the mild plus, not too hot, but hot enough.
Okay. I like it a spice.
I'm one of those dudes.
Okay.
Or just like give me all of the sushi.
Yeah, I'm not really a fish gal.
I love fish.
Sushi is like really cute. Like I want to be into it because like the aesthetic is on brand. I feel. But.
I haven't said this in a while. One of my aliases is Young Fish.
Okay.
I've been told I have a Lawrence Fishburne energy, so it's Young Fish.
Oh, Young Fish. Okay, I dig.
So I like to travel to New Orleans. That's my favorite vacation spot, right? Culture, all of that stuff. Do you have a favorite vacation spot, a place to like, you know, decompress, kind of just get reconnected, things of that nature?
Well, I kind of have only recently been able to start traveling because I'm a broke ass bitch.
That was not a sound effect, listeners.
But I have been lucky enough to take myself to Paris a couple of times now.
Go on.
Paris, London. I didn't really like London. I liked Paris. They love me there. I love the food.
I'm listening.
They're nice to me. And, they love me in Dublin, too. Everyone was really nice. I was like, I don't know. For some reason, I thought Irish people were going to be, like, mean. But they're nice.
Yeah.
And they loved it there. It was really beautiful. But I am, like, a warm weather person, for sure. So
I can see that.
I love the cities, and I love architecture, and, like, history, and art, and food. But take me to the goddamn beach. I went on a girls trip to Puerto Rico recently, and I think I might want to just frickin' move there because
Puerto Rico's great.
It was so beautiful, and people are nice there too. Food slaps. I'm kind of an island girl. So,
I'm hearing that.
yeah, just give me a pina colada with my ass out at all times. That's how I want to live my life.
That is, if we could only dream.
Yeah, well.
This is the last one I got for you, and this is,
okay.
I think we already have the answer, but I'm going to ask it.
Pink.
Yes. You already had the answer.
What's my favorite color?
That literally was the...
Okay. So, yeah, it was like a dusty rose is kind of the vibe. But anything like pastel and like dreamy, like clouds, cotton candy, like sunset colors. And, I kind of wear the same color every day. Mm-hmm. I'm one of those people that I could eat the same thing every day, listen to the same song over and over again, and never get tired. I don't know why. But I think this pink thing, so it's only the past couple of years when I've started, I'm like, I like this color. Everything I buy now is going to be pink. My room, my house is pink. And I think it's because I'm kind of reverting back to that childlike thing. Like things that I liked when I was a young child, like 5, 6. I was obsessed with pink, Barbie and all that. But then I kind of grew up and shit got hard, depression hit, parents split up, and then it was like all black, like emo. Yes, I had an emo phase. I had the relaxed hair with the bangs that were fried, and became this kind of dark soul. And I think just having the color pink around me all the time just kind of uplifts me and brings me back to like that kind of childlike wonder, or just the appreciation of simple things. Yeah. How simple a color can just uplift your mood. So that's why I'm kind of all in.
I love it. Midtones for me, always gray, burgundy, just something. It's just like Rob's always down.
I get burgundy vibes from you.
I'm a burgundy dude. Yeah. I call it oxblood, the blood of my enemies.
Ooh, okay.
There's a dark side that I don't put in here too often.
No, I love that.
So with that one, I want to thank you for coming on to this podcast.
Thank you for having me.
This has been a treat, and you are great. And with that, I want to give you the space to share the final moments where folks can check you out, social media, website, all of that good stuff. The floor is yours.
Okay. You can find me at Ari.Voxx on Instagram, or just Google Ari Voxx. That's ARI.V as in voluptuous, OXX, why 2 X's? Because 3 is too exciting and 1 is not exciting enough.
That's great. So I want to again thank Ari Voxx for coming onto the podcast, and I'm Rob Lee, saying that there's art and culture in and around your neck of the woods. You've just got to look for it.